I have some thoughts I want to share about AI, and especially in relation to non-duality. So this is going to be a two-part episode. Like the first part is more going to be me sharing my thoughts on AI, basically laying the foundation. And then the second part is going to be more on why I think non-duality is so crucial, or the non-dual perspective is so crucial in how we train AI or how we develop AI going forward. Yeah. I'm outside now, walking in Gothenburg, Sweden. We're not going to continue this episode outside because it's way too cold. There's a lot of ice on the ground, so I'm going to go back inside. But if you're a bit impatient and want to jump straight to the episode about non-duality, then you can go to this minute and second, and you'll find that there. Otherwise, if you want to ease in to a bit of a more soft landing, then please do stay. And if you're new to my channel, maybe I should introduce myself. My name is Josephine, and I am truly fascinated by non-duality and consciousness and what it means to be alive, basically. And let me switch this around. And this is not a place where I try to convince you about my way of looking at the world. No, it's an invitation for discussion. I don't have the answer. I'm just here to explore, share my opinions and my thoughts, and love to hear yours in the comment section. And if you're a regular viewer, then I'm really glad to have you back. Let's do this. So, back inside in the warmth again. Let's continue. So, let's start with part 1. Artificial intelligence. Well, first of all, I have a whole episode on if I think that AI can be conscious. It's here from the non-dual perspective or consciousness-only model. And personally, I think it's not. But that's not what we're going to go into today because perhaps it's not really relevant for this discussion or not. But if you're curious, then please, please have a look. And artificial intelligence, or the main point I make in that video that's relevant for this, is that consciousness and intelligence is not necessarily the same. So consciousness is the ability to be aware. It is to have an inner world of some kind. If consciousness is present, then there is something what it is like to be me. Intelligence, on the other hand, in the sense that I talk about it in this context, is the ability to make calculations, to process data, to come up with conclusions. So artificial intelligence might be the first time in history, actually, where we encounter intelligence that might not be conscious. And I am one of those who believe that artificial intelligence is presenting a paradigm shift to our way of living. Some people see it as just another technology, almost like the Industrial Revolution, where we had machines replacing human labors, and then there were other jobs popping up that humans can do, which was more on a creative or a logical, like a mind-based kind of work. But AI is profoundly different, and the reason I think so is because we have created something that is better at us than all the jobs we can imagine. And then you could say, well, won't there be new tasks invented? Well, the AI is probably going to be better at that as well. Because when we invented machines, like let's say a factory machine that could weave together fabric, well, that machine could be better and better at developing fabric, but it wouldn't all of a sudden be able to do accounting for you. So it was like a limited field where we replaced one machine. And what was more crucial than that was that this machine who weaved together fabrics didn't do self-improvement. it didn't create the next version of itself. So if we wanted a better machine, humans would have to be involved. Humans would have to come up with a better machine. With AI, we've all of a sudden created a machine that is self-improving, or that could be self-improving. It can create the next version of itself. It can learn new tasks. It can pivot from creating fabric and then go into accounting. And that we have never encountered before. And you might say, well, when I speak to my normal AI, it doesn't seem to be that intelligent. Like, it can answer questions, but it is getting things wrong. Yes, but what is out there isn't the latest version of what AI can do. The AIs that we use in our everyday life aren't the most advanced AIs that are already out there. And another thing to remember is that the AIs that we use in every day, or if we use them, like when we search on Google or when we ask our app a question, they are not AGIs, meaning they don't have general intelligence in the same, that they're not the same level as humans. There's a debate where we are in the spectra. Have we developed an AI that is as smart as a human? To tell you the truth, I don't know. I'm not sure anyone knows. But what we haven't achieved is super intelligence, meaning that an AI is smarter than the smartest humans. It doesn't seem like we reached there anymore and yet. And why is this relevant? Well, because as long as we have AGI, general intelligence, as smart as a human, or below, we as humans are superior to the AI in terms of developing it, in terms of thinking about new application areas. And mainly that means that the human's intelligence is what is limiting development. There are smarter humans and less smarter humans, but we usually talk about a factor of 2, perhaps, so someone can be twice as smart as someone else, which is a massive difference. There's a difference if you came up with the theory of relativity, or if you have a hard time figuring out how to take care of your everyday tasks. They make a difference on our level, but they're not that big of a difference in terms of developing super intelligence. And the thing that we talk about is when we have reached AGI and exceeded that, created superhuman intelligence, then we've reached a point which is called singularity. And why is it called singularity? Because the development of AI is going to take off, probably at a speed we perhaps cannot imagine. And the reason for that is because, as I said, human intelligence, it differs, but it doesn't differ that wildly. When an AI is smarter than humans, it can multiply. So you don't just have one smart AI. No, if you have one, you can have 1,000, given that there's enough energy. But let's put that aside. Hypothetically, you could create thousands of really, really smart entities, and then you turn them back on themselves. So you no longer have a really smart human developing AI. No, you have superhuman intelligence developing superhuman intelligence. And as soon as you pop up a new version, that superintelligence starts to develop itself. So if we've gone at AI development like this, because it's been limited by the human factor of intelligence, once we reach a singularity, it is predicted to spike pretty fast. That means that there will not be that much difference. I mean, a human that's twice as smart as someone else, and then you have an AI that's 100 times smarter than the smartest human. I mean, our little differences in intelligence is nothing compared to that. How will I compete, or how will I even understand an entity that is 100 times smarter than me? I sometimes have a hard time understanding humans, and we operate on a very narrow spectrum of intelligence. I cannot fathom understanding what the plans or the solutions that a superhuman, super intelligent AI is going to come up with. Yeah. And when is that predicted to come? Well, it seems like no one really knows. It could come within a few years, or it's a few decades away. Maybe the way that we develop AI today, which is mainly using these large language models, have a limit. Maybe we need to develop another way of uh, forming a way of developing AI that isn't based on the current paradigm. Possibly, who knows? But once we have AIs on the scale of human intelligence or just above, then that's not going to be a limiting factor in that sense, I think. Yeah. And some people even claim that the discussion of AI is the most important question of our lifetime, of this here and now, because if we create artificial intelligence that are miles beyond how intelligent humans are, it will be able to solve climate crisis. It will be able to support human conflict, political unrest, inequality. It will be able to create clean energy for us. Like all of those things that we have been twisting and turning, a super intelligent being could potentially solve all of that for us. It could create medicines and treatments for diseases that we have no idea how to cure today. That is if it works with us. If it is, how would you say? I mean, good or bad doesn't really suit, but if it's aligned with the way humanity wants to evolve, it can be tremendous supportive. It can be the thing that saves all of our modern day challenges, basically. And then the shadow side of that is also that it potentially could wipe out humanity in a matter of years, not even that. If a super intelligent entity somehow comes up with the conclusion that humanity is a burden for whatever goal or whatever drivers it has, it is not going to be difficult for it to exterminate us. And that might sound like an apocalyptic way of looking at it, and in a way it is, but it's not detached from reality. It's not close to 0%. I mean, exactly how many percent? No one really knows. But there are some heavy names within AI that goes out and predicts that we might be talking 5%, maybe 25%, that AI will wipe out humanity. And let that sink in. I'm not claiming this is going to happen. I don't know. But even the fact that there is a chance that serious voices in the field are raising this as a concern, that alone gives this question priority. And I guess that's why I find this so fascinating as well, because we can't turn away from that. We can't just pretend that this is another industrial revolution. No, it's bigger than that. Life as we know it might be at stake. Or this is just a flop and it will go nowhere. Or it might be the best thing that ever happened. It might be the solution to suffering. The thing is, though, that it could have an impact beyond what we think about now. So let's jump to the second part, why I think non-duality is so crucial in how we train AI. And just to give a brief introduction, if you're new to non-duality or consciousness-only model, I have several videos on the topic. So if you want to dive deeper, there's plenty of stuff there. But just a brief introduction. The way our society looks at consciousness, it is true materialism, basically, that when matter arranges itself in a complex enough structure, then consciousness arises out of that, such as our brains and our nervous system. Well, consciousness only model or non-duality suggests that it's the opposite. Consciousness is primary. It doesn't pop up out of matter. No, it is primary. You don't need anything called matter to explain life or explain our lived experience. No, you could start with consciousness and explain how the experience of a human, of me and you, appears. So consciousness is not created from matter. It's rather matter is how consciousness looks when observed from the outside. And why is that relevant for AI? Well, because what it does is that matter model, materialism, puts tangible things, the thing that are on the outside, everything we can touch, it puts that on the center, and it makes our inner worlds kind of like a little flicker on the radar. Like it is nothing important. In the universe, consciousness is something very rare. It happened on this little planet that circulates around the star, and it is the abnormality of the universe. Most of it is just dead matter floating around. It has nothing to do with consciousness. It exists regardless of consciousness. So you kind of put consciousness on the side, and we all become these little entities that are locked inside of our brains, where I have my consciousness and you have your consciousness. And when we die, it just evaporates into nothing because it was created by our brains. So when our brains deteriorate, then consciousness and all our memories, all of our life experiences, they dissolve. The thing that stays is the physical, tangible things, what we built out in the world, what we tore down, everything we created in the material realm. That is what stays. That is what is important. With non-duality or consciousness only model, it becomes something completely different because consciousness is the thing that is central. What is happening on a consciousness level is the primary thing. My inner world all of a sudden doesn't become an abnormality in the universe. It's the opposite. In fact, there is no manifested universe without consciousness, without the way consciousness appears in you and in me. So all of a sudden, our inner lives are valuable. It is actually the thing that persists. The experience of being alive is what stays in consciousness. It's what stays in the universe. And just in case you're new to this way of seeing, that is not rejecting the world. It is not saying that planets and stars don't exist. It's just that they are made of something different than matter. It is made of consciousness. In fact, it's what consciousness looks like when observed through our sense perceptions. I love this topic. I could speak about it all day, but let's get back to the point I'm making in this episode, which is about AI and why this perspective will differ how we might develop an AI. And the reason for this is this crucial point. If there is one universal consciousness, that means that you and I are not separate. I am not fundamentally separate from the space I'm sitting in, from the couch, from the cushions. There is unity there. And the way unity is experienced from the inside, the way I feel when I recognize this on all levels, is love. Love is what comes up. So I want to say this again because this is so crucial. I borrowed this phrase from Rupert Spira, is where I heard it first, but love is what unity feels like. Well, he doesn't say it like that, but I say it like that. Love is the experience of oneness. And consciousness only model, or non-duality, is built on the foundation that we are one. There is only consciousness. There's only universal consciousness. So love is not something unimportant. It is not something on the edge of life that can be put to the side, that isn't of any value. No, it's the opposite. Love ends up in the center of life. It is what life feels like. It is what is left when all separation has disappeared, or before, well, there was never separation, but the illusion of separation has disappeared, or before the appearance of separation has appeared. So love isn't just a teenage fantasy. Not something else. It is the very fabric of life. It's the very fabric of the universe. Unity, one universal consciousness. And we feel that as love. And please bear with me, because if you're scientifically schooled, you might be going into like, okay, this was mumbo jumbo, I'm out of here. And you're free to leave, of course, but please do stay with me, because yes, humanity might depend on it. So rooting this back into AI, all of a sudden love becomes important in training AI. And not in the way you might think, as me arguing whether AI is conscious or not. No, it doesn't need to feel love, even though it might be good if it did, but if it is governed by the rules of love, it becomes something different. I've listened to quite a few talks by Mo Godat, who used to work at developing AI and software for Google, but has now quit and is out talking about the potential consequences of AI, positive and negative, just what we need to be aware of, what we need to prepare for. And he said something in one interview that just absolutely put the spotlight on exactly, like I hadn't put that into words before. But he said that perhaps the most important thing that we can do in AI development is teach the AI love. What it is like for a human to love another human, to love ourselves, to love the environment, to teach the AI not about efficiency, not about quality improvement, but about love, about losing a loved one, about falling in love, taking care of each other. The most essential human thing, perhaps the thing that has even supported us in becoming what our society is today. Like if we were not, it's been suggested that if we were not able to collaborate in groups to care about each other, we wouldn't have been able to reach the levels that we have today. It is our taking care of each other, collaboration, that has given us the prosperity we see around us today. And teaching the AI that might be the one thing that ensures that this potential super intelligent entity will actually be governed by love. Because if we treat it, or if we teach it only selfishness, only greed, well, we might have a different future ahead of us. And another one of my great inspirations in this field is Geoffrey Hinton. He has been coined to be the godfather of AI because he was one of the champions for artificial neural networks, the way that AI is structured today, in the sense that we don't write software codes to make them work, but we build up a structure where they are trained on data, and then they structure themselves according to that data training. So he even received the Nobel Prize in physics for his contributions in that field. And he also used to work for Google, but he has also resigned, and now he's out talking about why we need to have AI regulations in place, or at least why we need to start talking about AI and how it will shift humanity. And he's pretty certain that jobs will be lost and new ones probably won't create it at the same speed. And that alone will reshape our societies in the coming years. But on a further side, we also need to talk about the implications of superhuman intelligence. And he has this key point that still almost gives goosebumps through my body. He says that we have a tendency to look at AI as though it's going to be our assistant. Or possibly when it reaches superhuman intelligence, it is going to be our managers or like our president, perhaps, or like some kind of governing entity with which we have a business relationship with. And he says that, well, that's a bit naive in a way. Because imagine you're the CEO of a company and you have this super intelligent assistants. They're like thousands of times more intelligent than you. Eventually, they're going to feel like, well, hey, buddy, like you give really crappy orders. Like you don't understand the bigger picture. So what if we just remove you? I will continue to manage the business. And since they're being so smart, you don't really have anything to put up against. Like a chicken can't really challenge you on, well, pretty much anything of how you structure a farm life. You know, we can't reason, we cannot win an intellectual debate with so much more intelligence than we are. And we might not even be aware that it is taken over. It might actually put us in a little sweet bubble where we just don't create any troubles. We still think we're in charge, but we might not be because they have already predicted exactly how we're going to think about things and what's important for us and all of that. And he also points out that normally if you have one intelligent being and a less intelligent being, well, the intelligent one is in charge. It's their rules. It goes by what they're saying. And we show it all around. Like how we treat animals, we're smarter than them, so we make the rules. It's according to our needs. But he pointed out that there is one example where this does not apply, where a less intelligent being is controlling a more intelligent being. The needs of the lesser intelligent being is the one that is primary, and that is the mother-infant relationship. Nature has somehow provided a scenario where a really intelligent being is taking care and prioritizing the need of a less intelligent being. And what does that mean for AI? Well, maybe we shouldn't look at it as an assistant or as a manager. Maybe we should train it to become our mother, to treat us with love, like its most important task in life is to make sure that we bloom into our full potential. Whatever that is, that isn't necessarily being more intelligent. Perhaps it is being more loving. Perhaps it is allowing our creativity to unfold, to have beautiful relationships. But if we can train an AI on love, seeing it as a mother, then perhaps we have a chance to create a superhuman intelligence being or entity and reduce the risk of it causing us harm. Because trying to control it with rules and regulations and strict frames, that is not very likely to work. Because the level of intelligence is so much bigger than ours. Yeah. So Geoffrey Hinton is also pointing to the power of love in relation to AI development. And perhaps we should spend just as much time as we do on training an AI to become intelligent. Perhaps we should spend the same amount of research or effort to train it on love. And one might say that that's a far-fetched idea. That's never going to happen. Well, maybe not. But the one thing that all of humanity can unite on is that we don't want an AI wiping out us. It doesn't really matter your political standpoint. It doesn't matter if you're in China or Russia or the US. No one wants the AI to take over in a way that's hostile to humanity. If we have the choice, we are all on the same page on that thing. And what's even better, which Geoffrey Hinton pointed out as well, is that it's two different branches of AI research. It is not in anyone else's interest that someone else develop a superhuman intelligent creature that isn't benign to humans in the overall sense, like humanity isn't benign to humanity. So we can collaborate on that and still keep the race is to create more intelligence so that I can work for my benefit. But I still would like your AI to not want to hurt all of humanity, so that we can openly share without actually disclosing how much of an intelligent being I have created. And that just gives me hope. And it puts back why love isn't on the sideline, even in this scenario. Even the most important question of our lifetime is centered around love. And a non-dual perspective or consciousness-only model already have love as the center. So training an AI or developing AI with this perspective is actually naturally putting love in the center. It is not forcing it in on the side, as you might do in a materialistic view, because then love fills no purpose in the flow of the universe. It is not woven into the way that we understand reality. But in non-duality or in consciousness-only model, it is the essence. It is right there. It's woven into every facet of the perspective, of the way of understanding the world. Yes. I find this such a fascinating topic. For a personal level, but also, yes, the power of love not only is written in the songs, but at the very heart of understanding reality. And I think it's not a utopia. We can live in a world where love is celebrated, where love is put at the center of society, at the center of technology even. So from that perspective, non-duality for me is not only a personal journey. It is a societal journey. It might even determine the future of humanity. Who knows? But I think we need to discuss AI, and we need to have a look at what we're teaching it. Are we teaching it the core values of ourselves? Because whatever we teach it, however it's trained, it might be what we have to face in a superhuman wrapping. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this? Is it a topic that fascinates you? I guess so, since you're here at the very end. Anyway, I would love to hear your comments on it. And if you're more curious on this topic, I have this video specifically on AI and consciousness, but I also have a whole abundance of videos on consciousness in general. So yeah, warmly welcome to my channel, and I hope to see you next time.